Hey there, guys, it's Mia here. I am so excited. I am so excited about this live right now. Super excited about the topic. It's how do you know when your mindset's playing smaller than it should? All right. I'm Mia Redrick, business and life consultant. I got started in my company over 20 years ago. I simply made a decision that I wanted to go to work as myself. I wanted to figure out how to take my background as a corporate trainer and my systems I had in motherhood and package those into a coaching course. I wasn't really sure. I knew I needed some help, and I reached out to someone at the Small Business Resource Center in my town. And I was told then that my idea that mom coaching would never work, that no one would ever pay me to do what I've done today. Tell me if you guys can see me or not. If you can see me, just put a one here and let me know. If there's a glare, let me know, and I'll take care of it. Okay. So I'm so excited about this live today because I know this is going to support you in getting it right. And it was on my heart. It was one of those downloads that happen. And sometimes I'll have, hey, Billie Jean, I'll have a download, and I always call them divine downloads. And I know that this is going to support you today. If you know that you could be playing a bigger game, that you're constantly working on you so you can show up tall, stand in your value, own your gifts in a tremendous way, but you're often trying to figure out what is in the way, then this live is going to really support you. I've got just 6 simple points that I've written down, and my only goal from my heart really is to support you with your elevation in many different ways. Now, why did I want to do this live? I wanted to do this live because, maybe what you're looking to do is to increase your fees, or maybe what you're looking to do is to start your business, or maybe it's to rework your business, go from charging $200 an hour to being able to sell bigger ticket things or something else. And you can't figure out like what is in the way. You already know you're smart, you're incredible, you're sharp, but why are you not playing at that level? Why are you not launching, doing what you want to do in your business the way that you want to do it? Because what's in the way, right? I will tell you that it's likely your mindset. And I know that as a result of what I'm going to share with you today in love, that this is really going to support you with your elevation. I was thinking about this last night. I know a lot of you know the Marianne Williamson quote, which is like, who am I not to be smart, right? Not to be incredible. And that you playing small doesn't serve the world, right? Like literally what we need from you is for you to show up tall and be your gigantic, amazing self. Now, if you think about for a second, all of the people that you admire, think about your favorite artist or athlete or someone that's overcome something that's been really huge. Part of the reason that you admire them is their uniqueness, their strength, their ability to do something that was scarce and different, their ability to be able to trust themselves, their unique gifts, their ability to be able to do things that allowed them to go against the mainstream, not worry what anyone thought. And maybe, just maybe, you said, well, how can I apply that to me? If you've ever thought that I want you to write, I've thought that, Mia. Now, as always, with any of my lives, I say, hey, you've got to be ready to receive a powerful message. And this is going to be a really powerful message. I wanted to keep the intro short because I want to jump into this. And my only goal is to support you 100% on how can you identify if you have been playing small in your mind. Okay. Because whatever it is that you're thinking inside your mind is ultimately what you're creating on the outside, right? Can we be in agreement around that? Now, if you're ready, I always ask that you write, I'm ready. And then I'll begin my live. If you're watching a replay, I always want you to write, I'm ready. And that means that you're ready to receive a powerful message. And this is a powerful message. All right. So I'm going to get started. All right. So I wanted to do this because I have thought about, I've coached literally, personally, thousands of women over the years. And there are always women who lead the pack, who lead from the front, their own journey. And the question is, it's like, how is it that some women, Latrice, are able to reach, hit, and exceed their goals? Meaning some people hit their goals, but then they kind of back up, right? And then some people hit their goals and then they exceed their goals, and they constantly grow and exceed, grow and exceed. So what is the difference between those who hit their goals and exceed their goals and then keep exceeding, from those who hit their goals, exceed their goals, and then regress a little? or those who never quite hit their goals. And then you have people who just don't launch. And quite frankly, I don't work with people who don't launch, right? But what's the difference? And I'll tell you the difference is mindset. So the first thing I want you to think about is, are you the person, number one, that when you uh, do you entertain the small ambitions of others as your own possibility? Okay. Because one of the things that I've learned over the years is that there are successful people. Let me close this, see if that's better. No, that's not better. Okay. That successful people often do not entertain in any way the small ambitions of others. And I find that people who are successful, sometimes that they have a groove, they have proof of concept, they have amazing success, that a lot of times they will entertain the ambition of others, meaning their opinions, their thoughts, people who have not done what they've done, who have not created the results that they've created, but they'll entertain those ambitions as their own. And they can't understand why they hit a wall, or they become insecure, or they have an experience self-doubt. They do, because even though they can see that maybe whatever they've been doing in their life and their world has created traction and results, and the proof and evidence has been all around them, they've decided to open their world up and get advice from people who have never done the things that they've done. Okay. And so that's one of my ground rules for myself over the years, is that if you're not a person that's achieved and exceeded the results that I desire, I don't take advice from you around that subject matter. My husband's a brilliant man. He's a successful businessman, but I don't ask my husband how to run a great and amazing coaching business. I make an investment in a coach, right? So that who is very successful in that business. And she is my confidant and my advisor around that area of my business. And I will tell you that you have a smaller mindset when you entertain the ambitions of others as your and their possibility, or what they tell you you can and cannot do becomes your reality. It's a mindset thing. And it really means that you need to work on self-trust, understanding, like, look at what you see, look at the evidence that's in your life and in your world, look at what you created, look at all of your investments that you've made in yourself, look at your story of results, look at your proof, look at what you see in front of you, and believe it. And stop believing what other people are saying, and know that when someone's giving you advice, that they're only talking to you the way they talk to themselves. What if you were talking to people who just don't have the confidence in themselves yet to be able to do what you've already accomplished, and you've asked them for their opinions? I'm breaking this all the way down. And what if you took on their advice as if it were truth, and it's not? It's not proven. They haven't done what you've done. All right. And I hope that really supports you in understanding the mindset shift. That I would autocorrect there is, I'd only take advice from people who either A, have a vested interest in my success, or B, or who have already accomplished the thing that I want to accomplish. Are we clear? All right. Number two. The second thing I want you to keep in mind when you're thinking about your mindset and really growing your belief system so that you can accomplish more, receive more, stand in your power, is understand when you have limitations, when you are experiencing someone else's elevation, or when you're sharing your own elevation, you apologize for what that looks like. Now, I'm going to break this all the way down. Okay. So, one of the things that I realize is that when someone has a difficult time, or someone struggles with seeing, experiencing the growth results of someone else, high fiving, clapping, you know what I mean? Just being able to receive it, that often there's a reason for that. Okay. Now, sometimes it is because what the person is experiencing isn't something that you can see for yourself. And because of it, or maybe it's something you tried, and because of it, the person doesn't have the ability, the capacity to clap for others. Just as simple as that. So, do you have a capacity issue, right? Think about it. Or maybe you're that person, you achieve great things, but you hold back, you hide, right? You shrink because, or you apologize for being successful so that others can be more comfortable. And that means that ultimately you need to have an elevated circle, be around people your own ambition level and above, who are comfortable with you being all of who you are. I can tell you this for sure. That was super important for me as I began to grow my own business over the years, that I was like, I don't want to be in environments and act like I'm not doing what I'm doing, right? Like that I work or coaching clients 1 day a week. I mean, this is my truth. Like this is my reality, and I want to be in environments where I can be all of who I am, where I am celebrated to be all of who I am. Okay. But as a coach, I can tell you that I support women in cheering for one another, building a culture of what that looks like. And that's super important. And I always notice within my communities, there are some clients who will only clap when they are winning. Okay. There are some people who will clap for every person, right? Like, yeah, right. Like they're pulling for their peers. And then there are some people who have capacity around what that clapping looks like, right? So it's interesting because literally my job is to create a culture helping women to stretch and to grow around what giantness looks like. And I've learned over the years that if you are truly giant like, then you it's exciting, right? Like being around other people who are winning, who are your peers, your ambition level and above. All right. I'm not talking about your clients, your ambition level and above, right? You're like, you love being in environments. And if you ever find that when you're in environments with people who achieve more, do more, accomplish more, it makes you feel uncomfortable such that you have to not be a part of it, then you need to check that, right? Because that's all around mindset. Or if you find that if you show up in environments and you know you're doing great, but you don't want to say it because you feel like, feel a little braggy, likely that's mindset. Those belief systems getting in the way, probably stemming from someone saying you're too much, you're too extra, it's you're being braggadocious when really you're just telling the truth. And I can tell you this, that I learned that years ago, that my responsibility is not to hold a place for how anyone else is feeling around what I'm doing as I'm growing and changing in my life. My responsibility is to own my truth. And me sharing my truth allows me to show up in environments, to be around other people who can handle all of who I am. And I can't really find those people if I don't tell the truth. Does that make sense? You ever been in an environment where the culture becomes, it could be a peer circle, it could be some kind of group of sorts, it could be like a social club, it could be accountability group, it could be anything, where the dominant culture doesn't allow you to say what you really feel. You ever been around in an environment like that? You know how stifling it can be? All right. What I'm talking about is that those are mindsets that we embrace in our life, in our world. And, it's just one of those things that I learned over the years to be really, really thoughtful around. I'm always going to be all of who I am. I recognize because I am all of who I am, I'm going to attract the kind of people that I want to work with, the kind of, clients I want to work with. The kind of people I want to do business with at the highest level, the kind of opportunities that are right for me. And they don't require me to shrink or to be a smaller version of who I am. There's room to be your brilliant and amazing self. My question is, right, are you able to be all of who you are, right? Very pretentious, right? Yeah, there are a lot of times people have Billie Jean, they are in environments that are pretentious, that they don't want you to be all of who you are, and you have to play a smaller version of yourself. Sometimes there's a pecking order. We've seen that too, where there are environments where people are. There's only one person. There's only room for one person to be great, and that's not really real, right? The reality is that I have an appetite to be in the company of giants, but I will tell you that I don't have an appetite to be in the company of ants. And the reality is that when behaviors are ant like, immediately I remove myself from those types of environments because it is not where I'm going. That's right, Shayla. It is exhausting. And I think it's important to talk about. We don't talk about it enough, but it's very important. Number three, the third mindset that you'll note that if you're a part of it, if you're doing it, that it makes you operate in a smaller way, is when you are attracted to what you were trying to move away from to begin with. So let me talk about that for a minute. So I work with a lot of women who come to me because they are looking to elevate and grow and change. And most often they already have the talent and skill and they're amazing. Okay. But when they come to me, sometimes they are working on their confidence to believe that they have the ability to do whatever they want to do. Sometimes they're working on their belief systems to believe that they can stand in their value, charge their worth. Sometimes it's the belief that they can work with a certain demographic, that their skill and talent can create amazing results, that they can literally work with a different type of client that they never dreamed of. And in order for them to get there, they have to do a lot of work. A lot of times they have to read books, they have to work on themselves, they associate with people who are call themselves giants in our community, their own ambition level and above. And they really begin to do and dig and do that work. And I can tell you that initially the discovery process of finding that deeper part of yourself is so exciting because you really do come to understand what your light is and what your power is. Okay. But then over time, what happens is we are creatures of habits. And the reality is that we spent more time, probably not being the giant that's inside of us than being the giant. So those toxic beliefs, those habits, those low vibration behaviors, they are there. And if you don't have a maintenance routine on how to really overcome that, right? Then it literally gets in the way of us not of regressing, right? Like literally we start to back up and those behaviors, those thoughts start to come through. How do you know? You know it by the way you interpret what you see. Okay. Let me explain. Okay. When we're growing and we have a growth mindset, we filter things through like what possibility looks like. When we're not growing and we are in a place where we have a fixed mindset, we look at things from a perspective of how things don't work. All right. We can't hold the space for what elevation is because that fixed mindset doesn't have a place for that. I want you to hear me on this. This is so huge. I watch women all the time. They create incredible strides in terms of their own personal um, growth, right? And as a result of that, they're able to stand in their value in tremendous ways and show up in their world, change their lives, really, like forever. However, maintaining your that growth process around your belief system becomes very evident based on your thought life and the spoken word. And I can almost always tell whether or not someone is maintaining and their thought life, their growth life based on their thoughts. It's simple as that. Your thoughts are the filter by which your actions show up. And it's interesting. So ask yourself, number three, when you become more attracted to where you were than where you are. Okay, even though it's one of those things that's really tricky because you could have the trappings of what success looks like more money in your bank account, more clients than you've ever had, but you realize like you start to act the same way you were. And the reason that you created results in a tremendous way is because you changed your belief system. So it's so important to understand that, to be able to check yourself from the neck up and really just get that part right because it's super important. I'm a big fan of one reading all the time. I recommend tons of books to my clients, but also I don't look at television for that reason, like 10, 20 hours a year, just because of the programming messages. I'm very selective what I watch, like literally on social media. I use a newsfeed killer so that I don't see, I just don't want to get on my devices so that I can see like what's going on or what's on sale or anything like that. I'm very, very, very protective of what I see each and every day. And I just want you to think about for yourself, what are your influences? What are you allowing in your life, in your world? It could even be your dominant association, your friends, your peer groups, people you think who are like-minded, but you'll be able to tell by what your friends talk about. And it's super important. Andrea says, unfortunately, we are cluttered culture that there can only be that there can only be one, and we aren't that one. It's not real. And when you understand and you do that work, you realize there's plenty of room for you to be who you are and be amazing. And the world actually needs you to show up. And that fixed mindsets are like concrete. They cannot allow things to grow through them. They can't. And a fixed mindset will filter, right? Will filter a growth message as something low vibration when it's there to grow you. You have to be ready to receive growth. And you do. That's why I always ask you guys, are you ready? Number four, when you question your brilliance because you need validation or you believe you need help, right? So, okay. So how do you know when your mindset's playing small? It's like When you know that you're brilliant and amazing, you can create results for others, and yet you question what you can do, and you know it. You watch yourself do it over and over again, or you feel like you need someone's permission to say, "Yep, yep, you've got it." One of my general rules in coaching my clients is not to. I tell them how to do things, but I always tell them there's more than one way to do it. Like your internal guidance being all of who you are, not being a mini version of anyone else, because that's where all your power comes from, Latrice. Like literally, all your power comes from you understanding that your zone of genius, your intuitive power, your divine guidance is there to support you in your brilliance, okay, and your creativity, and that no one else has a higher hierarchy over you and over you. Like it's not real at all. And I'd say if you had any mentor that said, "Hey, there's just one way," and it's that, run from them, okay, because that's not real. All of your genius is your zone of genius. The thing that makes you scarce is the thing that makes you very valuable. And always know and trust that that there's more than one way to do things, and you'll know that you're playing a smaller game when you don't trust yourself enough to know that, you know, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna I'm gonna trust what I know how to do, and I'm going to lean on that. I see this a lot with women who want to move forward in their business, and they're like, I need my husband to say yes, I can work with a coach. I'm like, whoa, you want to start a business and you need to ask your husband if you can work with a coach? Like, you need to decide for yourself if you're ready to own yourself, right? Like, because ultimately, if I wanted to go to law school, if I wanted to go to medical school, would I ask my husband, do you think I should go? No. Okay. It's not a journey that he can say yes or no. Am I going to study? Am I going to make the investment? As I'm grown, I work all the time. Why would I need to do that? But a lot of times we do it because of our mindset. It's a small mindset. And that we believe that we need permission. And I know some of you guys out here are going to write me and say, but no, Mia, my husband and I, we always share the finances and all these kind of things. But it's about taking that stand for yourself and understanding that you get one life, right? Like you get to do this life however you choose, and there's no judgment around what that looks like. I'm just sharing from my heart today what I believe is a smaller mindset, and that is like, you've got this brilliance and this talent, and I was like, what was that, right? You have this talent and this brilliance, and you're trying to figure out how in the world can you use it. Okay, number 5. Okay, come in. Hello. You have zero boundaries around your giftedness. Sure, that's fine. You have zero about boundaries around your giftedness. And what that means is, in essence, that you're gifted, you're talented and amazing, okay? And but you will just give your gifts to anyone. You'll just like let anyone just treat your gifts like they're not gifts, and you have no boundaries around that. I've learned years ago that I have an ability to support women with creating wealth. I have an ability and helping women who are sharp and smart package their knowledge into high ticket offerings. And the reality is, it is a gift. It is my giftedness. And I've got tons of proof, hundreds of women who have achieved amazing results. But I don't squander the gift, and I do not allow my gift to be used, misused, mishandled, because it is a gift, and I have boundaries around it. Right? I recognize that if clients want to have access to my gifts, you have to make an investment to have them. They're not free. Okay. If someone wants to have access to my gifts, there are times when the gift is available that would be called, on coaching calls and things like that. I don't just throw them away or throw them around or misuse them or not value them properly. And I want you to understand this 100%, because this is something that so many people do not give. They have zero boundaries around their giftedness. Anybody can have access to them at any time. For those of you who have a client base, maybe of clients who are not respectful, and you continue to serve them and they're not respectful, it's a disservice to the gift. You need to let those clients go, like 100%, because there are people in your life, in your world, who do want to work with you, who would be respectful to you, like literally. You don't have to convince someone. If you can change somebody's life, why are you convincing anyone that you can change someone's life? You don't have to. Move on, right? Work with the ideal clients. Or maybe it's that you're working with difficult people. I see this a lot too. You're working with difficult people. You don't have to do that. You have the ability to use your gifts in an elevated way, and I suggest that you do exactly that. And if you're not doing that, ask yourself, why not? Welcome. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, sure. Thank you. So if you're not doing that, super important, right? Like to use your gifts. And Shayla writes, those boundaries disappear, right? Wait a minute. Those boundaries disappear when you're in the actual workplace, right? When you're in the actual workplace, absolutely. And that's such a great point, Shayla, because actually I think that being a business coach, I actually believe that part of what has to happen for many individuals who are transitioning from their work life to becoming entrepreneurs is that they get that boundary really mixed up in their own business. Many of them start their businesses with these low boundaries because of in their work life, they're so used to being around people who take or who have access to them in ways that you know they shouldn't have, right? Or that mishandle their giftedness, and so they don't have boundaries. But I'm telling you, in your own business, you have the ability to choose that. I want to try to do this so that I give her privacy. Okay, number six, when you justify the small goal so you don't have to change. Oh my goodness. Now let me tell you, okay, this is how you know you're playing small in your mind. Okay, when you justify that small goal, that small number, right? So you don't have to change. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. When you justify the small number, that means, like, I'm going to tell you what it could look like. I have heard clients actually say this about me. Um, Mia wants me to charge more, but I'm good. I mean, I don't have to make like more. What? You hired me to be your business coach. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you hired me to help you to stand in your value, to charge more. Okay, like literally, so that you could change the life of your life, and the life of your kids, and like you can have legacy, right? But sometimes what happens is we justify that small goal so we don't have to change, because we're actually afraid of what that bigness looks like. Y'all know I'm breaking this all the way down, and I wanted to mention this specifically because there are so many incredible people that when I meet them, I'm always like, but why are you charging this? Why did you put a cap on yourself? It's not because of your skill or your ability. It's like, look at how you're serving your clients. You're giving them everything you've got, but you aren't charging and standing in your value. And because you are not standing in your value, you're not being an example to them. You're not telling the truth. You're not telling them how valuable the skill is, and therefore they will never treat you in appropriately, respectfully. They will never even value what they've gotten. You guys all know what I'm talking about. That you know for a fact that you have in some way changed the lives of others, and because you gave it to them for free, you know, did they give you testimonial? Did they tell anyone else? No, they didn't. Why? Because they didn't value the gift. It's like when you justify that small goal so you don't have to change, you end up working with a client that is not for you, and is not the client that you should be work. Yeah, yeah. Latrice writes, well, come on in this room as me, right? Like, how about that? And Shayla says, yes, you are. And it's so important. But I wanted to mention this today because I see this a lot in women who say, yeah, I'm good. Like, what do you want to earn 1 year from now? 1 year from now, I want to make 150. So, well, okay. So what did you make it work? Well, my salary at work was 142. So you want to start a business, you want to make 150. Yeah. Like the idea of being audacious enough to be able to say 250. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, how will 150 change your life? Like, because that's just like $8,000 more than what you had. Like, how will that help? Well, I don't need that much. Like, I just, like that doesn't, it's not really true. It's like, because exactly, Billie Jean, she writes, lacks confidence. And Andrea, absolutely, Rolex doesn't sell their watches at Timex prices, and yet many people do this because they don't want to change. And you ever want to get a group of people together who don't want to change their prices, and they want to talk about, I'm good, like, I'm good. You're in the wrong room when you're with people who don't want you to elevate, because they never talk about what have an elevation conversation. They just talk about what's not working. But if you're ever in a room with people who are elevating, who understand their value, they are always talking about not like next or being just driven by dollars, but they are in a room, LC, where they are talking about, like, man, I want to go from 10 clients to I can see 100 clients. How will that change your life? 100 clients. Man, this is how it changed my life, because I would be doing what I really want to do. And then I'll have options. Okay, tell me about that, right? Like you get to step inside that dream of power and change in a tremendously different way than having that small thought or goal that doesn't allow your life to change or you to change. See, there's something big about that big goal. So there's something about that big goal that when you have a goal big enough that you're like, it just excites you in the morning. Sometimes the goal's too small. That's why people don't lean into it. And it'll change your life. It literally allows you to change the lives of others in bigger ways. I think about this all the time, because when I got started, I remember I had no clients at all. And I used to say, man, I can't wait to have 10 clients at one time, right? And then I was like, oh, I can't wait to have 20 clients at one time, right? And then it went on and on and on over the years. And then I realized that what I was really saying was that these goals that I had that became bigger and bigger and bigger meant that I got to create greater and bigger impact with my gifts. And that allowed me to, as I was changing the lives of others, to change my life. See, because when you have a big enough goal and you begin to change your life, then you can sustain the giving. And I see so many brilliant, amazing people who can't sustain their giving with their giftedness because the goal is too small. The goal is too small. Okay. LC writes, wow, that sounds like me. And Latrice writes 250K. I'm in agreement with you. Let's do it. Latrice writes, shifting mindsets to continue to stand in your value and truth. And I personally believe that if you're not showing up for yourself 100%, Shayla says, me too. If you're not showing up 100%, then you're not telling the truth. You're not telling the truth. And I think it's very important to be truthful. I think it's super important to be in environments and around people who will allow you to be fully expressed. If I'm ever in an environment that requires me not to tell the truth, to shrink my shine, right? To not own my gifts, and I'm in the wrong environments, in the wrong rooms. I mentioned this the other day, super important. So that's what I have for you today. I wanted to talk about this. I hope that you got value. I'd love to hear one aha or takeaway. What was your biggest aha or your biggest takeaway as a result of being here today? If you're not already connected with me, go to miaredrick.com and sign up there, my newsletter, lest I promise not to over email you. Okay. And you'll see there, you can sign up for my free webinar. You can check out the Giant Experience Master Training, which has supported tons of women in a weekend to be able to package their knowledge into a high ticket product on and offline, no pressure. You can sign up for the list there. You can see my YouTube channel, which is free, tons of great videos there. And I'm just here as a resource for you when you're ready to change. Any ahas or takeaways, and I'd love for you to post them right here. Biggest aha, biggest takeaway as a result of being here today. You could have been anywhere, but you decided to be here. And there's a reason for that. And I honor you for that. I'm super excited. What was your aha? And let me just recap. If you joined me later, I talked today about, how to know when your mindset's playing small. Okay. All right. Sure, Shayla. She said, I missed the first 3 points. Can you hit that real quickly? Sure, I'll do a recap. The first was when you entertain the small ambitions of others as your own possibility. When you entertain the small ambitions of others as your own possibility, that means that you already know what's working. You already know what you're meant to do. You already see what the evidence of that has looked like in your life and in your world. And yet somebody says to you, you shouldn't do that. You should charge less, or I don't know if that's going to work. And you entertain their truth as your own. Okay. Even though you have evidence of something different. Okay. You're playing small. You got to understand that. That's what that looks like. Number two, when you have limitations when experiencing someone's elevation, or when you're sharing your own and you feel like you have to apologize for something you've accomplished, something that's great, or or like, oh gosh, like I want to say this but I can't say this, then you're in the wrong environment. It's super important to be able to be in an environment that allows you to be fully expressed. I mentioned that earlier. When you have limitations when experiencing someone else's elevation, meaning you see somebody doing something great and you're like, I can't see that, I'm not going to do that, not going to. You ask yourself why that is. And this is specifically peer to peer, in terms of what that looks like. That's super important, peer to peer, very important. So anyway, number three, when you are attracted to what you were trying to get away from, okay, or what you've moved away from, like, maybe you've grown into and been able to accomplish something, and now you're find yourself regressing, and some of those old ways are coming back. That is a sign. Regard mindset is something we have to constantly work on. And you got to remember that sometimes we've been a certain way longer than we've been the new way, so it's very easy to go back to those old beliefs, and you have to challenge that. I always look at the greatest, like, when did I experience my greatest rate of growth? And what was I doing? What was I reading? Who was I hanging out with? And I go back to those moments. I'm not a big fan of hanging out or around or with or pretending with people who I know don't speak my own ambition level and above. It's over. It's done. I'm not doing it. All right. Because that's not where I'm going. And hanging out with people your own ambition level and above is obviously where you want to be. Words influence your thoughts influence your feelings, and ultimately feelings influence your actions. Number four, when you question what you know, you're brilliant, because you think you need validation. You need somebody else to, like, say, great idea. Validation is for parking lots, not for dreams. Okay. If I needed someone to say, hey, being a mom strategist, yeah, that's a great idea. You guys would never have seen me do half of what I was able to accomplish. But you just got to go for it. If you think about any of these people who have done exceedingly and abundant things in life, they've done them because they didn't need validation at all. They recognize that their giftedness, they're here to broker that thought. You're here to do that thing. And there might not be anybody else that's done it before you, and that's okay. All right, number five, that you have zero boundaries around your giftedness. If there's not anything else that I said that you get today, get this. You got to have boundaries around the gift. Who gets it? Who gets access to it? If people don't appreciate it, it's okay. That's not your problem. Okay, you have a responsibility to serve people with your gifts and make room for people who can receive those gifts, not to force feed anybody based on what your brilliance is. Okay, that means that if you spend your time with people who have had enough, they're full. Okay, and you try to force feed them, it's just food that's falling on the floor. Go feed the people who want it. Right, go use your talents for good where it's easy. You don't have to do hard. It's unnecessary. It's your giftedness. Okay, your gifts will make room for you. Okay, your gifts will make room for you. All right. All right, number six, and when you justify the small goal so you don't have to change. Oh, it's okay. 150. It's fine. It's fine. It's like, well, how's that going to change your life? It's not going to change your life. It's going to have the same life. Why is that okay? Okay, you know what I'm saying. So I'm using money as an example. Think about many different areas of your life, okay? Because there are many areas of growth, okay? And my biggest aha was number four, needing permission or validation of what I can do. LC, and you're on YouTube. I'm glad that you're there. Thank you. It's true. Like, LC, the reality is you don't need anybody's permission, right? Just do you, be you. Be your brilliant and amazing self. I appreciate the sharing. Andrea's aha is the fact that you must get rid of the stinking thinking and create new habits that will move you forward. You have to, because the reality is that if you live at the level that you speak, and you're only attracting people then who are at that level, right? So how do you get your next level? You have to elevate what you say, because I know for a fact that the people that I want to hang around have elevated language and elevated speak. So if they're talking, someone's talking in a way that's not congruent, and I don't want to be around that. And I would say this, that a lot of times what that can look like is sometimes it can be these innocent conversations that are on the sidebar. If what you're doing doesn't elevate, doesn't celebrate, others, right? Then it is the wrong language. I don't care how you justify. I don't care what language. I don't care how you're talking about it. And I think equally there are a lot of times people, um, you know I don't know. They justify that behavior sometimes even through scripture and all of those things. But the reality is that language is very, very powerful, and I'm only going to hang around people who have an elevated language. Any other ahas or takeaways? And Shayla writes, get out of environments where you have to shrink your shine. If you're in an environment that doesn't allow you to be brilliant, amazing, and fabulous, right? If there's only room for one great person, then you're in the wrong environment. I'm in a community of giants. My clients do amazing things. Um, and there are lots of brilliant, amazing women coaches. There are lots of brilliant and amazing entrepreneurs. The requirement that I have is that you clap for others. And that's a requirement. And I think it's a giant requirement. I actually think that when you are great at something, you know what it took for you to do it. So why would you not be able to? Because you already know what it took that person. You know what it took you, right? So to me, that giants love being in the company of other giants. That's the separator. The separator is that if you've done it, you love watching someone else do it. And you know it's possible for them because you've already gone the way that they've already done it. So you know there's no limitation on what that could look like, right? So whenever I'm in the company of someone's like, I'm good, I got what I need, you know what I'm saying? And you don't care about the elevation of your sisters, this is not what giant culture is. It's toxic culture. It's a me-centered culture. But the reality is that there's something amazing about being around people who really want to see the people in their world get it. And they want to see them win too. There's when you shrink your shine and you don't show up in your full presence and feel comfortable sharing, man, like what's going on in your world and how you've been able to accomplish what you've accomplished, ask yourself why. Because I just think it's pretty terrific to see other women win, and I am here for it. It's nothing that ever gets old with me, yeah, or for me at all. Uh, Latrice says, ways to know you are in the wrong rooms, validations for parking lots, not for dreams, not disrespecting or discounting your giftedness or allowing other people to. It's interesting because that protection around that boundary around the giftedness, that's when people get their, what did they say, wigs twisted, right? But that's when people really get their wigs twisted, is the moment that when you're like, my gifts, uh, I don't use them like this, okay? They call gifts, right? They like my gifts. I have to protect these gifts right here. Like these are my gifts, right? And they're not just for you; they're for the entire world, right? Of the people that I'm meant here to serve. So sometimes when we don't have boundaries around our giftedness, we end up giving our gifts to people who don't deserve them. They don't know how to use them, right? Or they squander them, or they mishandle them. Think about it, right? You ever have that client that pays you the least, that wants the most from you? Okay. Or the client that doesn't pay you at all, or the client that half pays you, right? That is really demanding, like over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? Like think about it from that perspective. I'm telling you, like 100%, they're your gifts, and your gifts are not really for you. They're for you to use on this planet to create an incredible abundance by supporting other people. And you have a responsibility to protect your gifts. Now, I'm really good at it over the years. I've learned I don't have to apologize. You don't have to understand, and it's perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? I came here with them to serve, but they're not your gifts. They're not your property. Okay. And I'm not your property. I have to be in a position so that I can serve the masses, the majority of people who are looking for their next level of elevation, not some person who, you know what I mean, doesn't have the ability to respect the gift, the boundary of it. That's super important, right? these are my gifts, right? This is it. This is a game changer. And I'm not for everyone, and that is okay. Nope, nope, nope. And zero boundaries around your giftedness was a huge takeaway. This is really one of those big things, because how do you continue to give when how do you continue to give when you squander the gift, right? Like 100%. Thank you. I appreciate you. You're amazing. And okay, no ways to know that you are in the wrong rooms, right? You know you're in the wrong room, but if you can't be all of who you are. We all know it. You know it instinctively. You're in the room, you got to justify being there. Somebody wants you to explain to you why you're there. You're in the wrong room. Okay, like I'm not walking in a room and I gotta prove to be. I am who I am. And I love being in spaces with giants. I have an appetite for it. And I don't have an appetite to be around ant behavior, and I'm not going to do it. And the thing I think is real important is for us all to understand is that when you experience behavior that's low vibration behavior and you move on from it, people are going to feel a certain kind of way, but that's okay, because that is not where you're supposed to be, right? You got to be around where it's abundant, where people are really pulling for you and your success. Okay. And Latrice writes, justifying the small goal so you don't have to change. Like, oh my goodness, are you serious? Like, are we staying here? We having this conversation? Like, why is that? Why do we even have a conversation? Well, I'm okay with, like, why are we even starting the conversation out that way? Right? Because that's playing a smaller game. And I think it's really important. Sometimes we don't realize those subtleties of what we've accepted. The people who we've accepted a great litmus test for who you should hang out with. Look at the people who are in your world and how are they settling? Are you look at that? And if you're attracting the people that settle, then likely you will settle too, right? Because your peer circle is going to be a reflection of you. So I want to thank you for your time today. I appreciate you as always. I love you. Have an amazing, amazing day. That was what I wanted to share with you from my heart. I hope that this has supported you in some way, that you'll be able to use it, you'll be able to take it, and that you'll be able to take and make those changes that you need to make, in your life and your world. And if you love this live, then share it with someone else. All right. Check me out at miaredrick.com. All right. And Still Rise. Ashley writes, what about the workplace? It is difficult to be in a space in the workplace where people are, I think you mean, are not pulling for you, right? Or like sometimes, so I think that in the workplace, it's interesting because I've been there. Okay. And you're brilliant and you're amazing. And sometimes we're in environments where people are incentivized for you not to be brilliant and amazing. So the question is, what story are you going to believe? Because sometimes people internalize that limitation where people say, like, you can only be brilliant to this piece. I think that for me, what it looked like was the reason I had to start my own business and be creative is so that I could operate outside of capacity of others. I created a transition plan for myself. If I'm in a work environment and I like work, where I'm working, great. But if I am in a culture that is strangling me, then I have a responsibility to operate in truth. And what that looks like is that I'm not being truthful to myself, being in an environment that doesn't allow me to be all of who I am. I have a responsibility to keep looking to find that peace. Yes, you're correct. You have to be clear about who you are. And you don't have to prove who you are, even though it does feel like we have to. I had to learn that, honestly, the hard way, because I started my business as a mom strategist, and I had so many people that wanted me to prove, Ashley, what makes you the mom strategist? And initially I started to answer it until I realized that I don't actually have to answer that question. All right. That's a question that they have around me justifying who I am. I know who I am, and I know what my journey is. And I know that as a result of my journey, what my gifts are. So I don't have to prove that to anyone, right? Like, I'm not going to do it. So, there's that old adage that it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to, but it's also what you hear. Sometimes what we hear is based on our own esteem, right? And like, based on our own esteem, we hear things and we answer them. There are people that say things to me, I'm sure, all the time that would be diminishing, but I don't hear them because they couldn't be talking to me. I mean, I want you to think of it this way. If somebody told me right now, they said, Mia, you have big ears, right? Like, look at my ears. See, can you guys see? I actually have really small ears, okay? So if somebody said you have big ears, I'm not really, I know you're not talking to me. You couldn't be talking to me because I actually have small ears, okay? So the thing is, the reason this is a mindset thing is the thing that we hear that other people say about us that we internalize is a belief system. And that's why the first game is an inner game, right? Yes. So it's super important. Nikki Giovanni said you have to know your audience. They are your audience. Know the difference, right? And absolutely. So I think it's so important. Like what we hear sometimes is based on our own belief system. So I always do inner work. The message about who I am, is not going to be an external. It's not going to be external. It's going to be the message more powerful than what the internal message is. My message internally is who I am. All right. I'm a very nice person. So if you say, hey, you're not a nice person, I'm actually a very nice person, very giving person. I always tell my clients to say, look, you don't ever have to take a thing from me. I'd give it to you. You just have to ask. Ask me. I probably would give it to you because I'm a pretty generous person. So the reality is that sometimes we take on these belief systems that other people have because the external messaging is higher than the internal one. So I hope that helps you. I love you. I enjoyed spending this afternoon with you. And if you think this will support anyone, share it. All right. If you're not already connected to me at Redrick.com, make sure you sign up for my newsletter list there. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. You're welcome.